Hello, hello. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. How are you doing today, my friend? For real, how are you? How are you feeling in your body? How are your muscles? How's your fascia? How's your structure? Are you hydrated? Have you been resting well? We need to make sleep a priority, for real. It's your bestie here. We need to make sleep a priority. Are you doing that? I'm really trying to focus on that. Okay, so now that we're checking in, seeing how you are, I just wanted to share that I am so excited for this episode. When I'm creating episodes and creating inspiration, the way I work is energy comes through me and it feels like what we would say is like a topic, I guess, but it's like an energy block that needs to come through, something that I need to share, that you guys need to know that's really important right now. And then I start forming it into, like content as far as like, what's the topic going to be? What are we going to focus on? And I was thinking for this one a lot about expansion and about how naturally when we expand, we outgrow. It means we outgrow our current circumstances. And of course, there's lots of metaphors for this in nature, but it's really about realizing that we are allowed to, and this episode, I feel like it's going to be a permission slip. We are allowed to outgrow our current circumstances. We are allowed to sometimes feel like we're outgrowing parts of our life. And it can be hard. It could be friend groups. It could be pastimes, clubs, things that you do. It could be even businesses, careers, jobs, relationships. It can be tough. And it's also an important part of the journey. So today we're talking about this, and it's sacred and it's activating and it's a little bit tender and it's a little bit motivating. We're talking all about how you're allowed to outgrow your life and who you've been. And I'm really excited for that because you guys are going through big transformations, big leaps. And cosmically, I can really feel on Earth, well, first of all, there's sort of a giant divide. There's sort of the one sort of ego and also younger soul kind of mentality people that are, the world is crazy, shit be crazy. There's that part of life. But there are the seekers and the older souls and the empaths and the healers and the creatives and the visionaries and the witches and the cosmic beings and the starseeds and all of us on this side of the fence that have been doing this work for a while. I'm just receiving as I'm speaking. That's why it feels a little choppy. We've been doing this work, and there are sacred spiritual activations going on, is how my team is phrasing it. There are these activations going on Earth, and it looks like healing. It looks like growth. It looks like raising our vibrations. But we are in this place right now where we've been doing that work, and spiritually and energetically, there's some momentum. And so I think that right now, that's why my team was guiding me and why I felt called to create this episode, that we have to outgrow, we have to evolve, we have to move forward. And we are all going through this in some level, right? Maybe many levels. I definitely feel like I'm going through it. In the upgrade is a releasing, is an outgrowing in some ways. And it's about mastering both, right? So I'm not going to go on and on. I am super excited to talk about it. So let's just dive into this episode. Take a sip of water, drop your shoulders, let go of your belly muscles, and let's dive in. Okay, so I'm going to start with a question. Do you ever, or have you ever, looked around in your life? Maybe it's your life as a total or an area of your life, and thought, I should feel grateful. This is something that maybe even I wanted, or it's fine. I should feel good. I should be fine with it. I should feel grateful. I should want to do this. But something in me just doesn't feel right anymore. Something in me is telling me that this doesn't fit me anymore, So sometimes we have these places in life where it's like, I've worked hard to get here and now it just doesn't feel right. Or maybe it's the same things you've been doing for years that felt fun and fulfilling at some point. And now you're like, it just doesn't feel right anymore. Maybe you find yourself shrinking a little bit to stay comfortable in friendships, to do the same things you've always done, whereas you're going, something doesn't feel right. Or maybe you're going through the motions at work and maybe it's a job that even once excited you. Like I said, that maybe you worked hard for or felt really good for quite a long time. Or maybe you're trying to care about the things that you used to care about. Maybe you find that the conversations that, the situations you're in, you're trying to care, but you just have outgrown it. You just don't care as much anymore. Maybe deep down through all these things, you just feel this whisper of like, you've outgrown this. This is not you anymore. This is not what you want for your future. And something that I think most people don't talk about is that outgrowing something is a sacred sign of evolution. It's never about that you're doing it wrong or that this job is all of a sudden wrong or bad, or even that you have to stay just because you wanted it at one point. There's nothing wrong going on. There's nothing bad going on. It's actually a sign that you're doing something very, very right. And when it comes to friendships, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to hard choices about careers, or, I know a lot of entrepreneur friends that at one time or another, they burn their business down to the ground to make space for something new. They outgrew their business. This has happened to me multiple times. I outgrow something, so I release a whole section of business. I've changed, brands. I've changed names. I've given up a career doing nutrition consulting. I outgrew. And I continue to outgrow. So it's never that something wrong is going on. And I remember like in my business, every time I outgrow something, there's this brief amount of time in the middle where it makes me like almost anxious to do the same old thing. Where I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing this. And like, that's what social media was doing to me. I was trying to post to like be consistent and be on Instagram, but I didn't even want to be on Instagram myself. I don't know when I opened it last for myself. And so there was this disconnect of like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I should. And then I realized at one point where I was like, whoa, this is now out of integrity. This is now not what I want to do. I want to post when I want to post, but like, I don't want to worry about it. And now at this point, sometimes there's like a week between even posting or more because I've outgrown it, and that's okay. And it's not better or worse than anyone. People are kicking ass on Instagram and thriving and doing good in the world. This is about me and my outgrowing. So what we're talking about here in this episode is you and your outgrowing. What are the things you are and have outgrown or are currently outgrowing? And as I said, it's a sign that something very, very right is going on. So I want to bring in a good healthy nature metaphor because I don't know if an episode can go by where I don't. I'm a reflector, and part of this is I reflect the wisdom in things. That's why I thrive on a good metaphor. But I want you to think of a snake. The skin of a snake, right? And it doesn't shed its skin because it's trying to get away from itself or shame or, it hates itself. So it has to get rid of parts of itself. It sheds because it's growing. It doesn't shed because it's like getting too big and that's bad. It sheds because it's growing, it's evolving. And when it's time to shed, this is the metaphor I'm seeing, the old skin doesn't just like tickety-boo, fall away, super easy, no big deal. It gets tight, it gets dry, it cracks, it probably itches like you see snakes or, anything that sheds a skin and it's like trying to get it off. It doesn't look comfortable. It pretty much probably becomes unbearable. And think of this, if the skin didn't get tight and then crack, it would kill the animal. Like it would squish it to death if it didn't slough off. I'm sure schluff isn't a word. Try to spell that one. There's probably some S's and CH's. Anyway, if it didn't shed, it would die. So I want you to think about this in the awakening process, in your evolution. If you don't shed, you'll die. And I don't mean that physically death, but it feels like it when we are squished into an old life, when you're living in a relationship that you do not want to be in, when you're in a job that you do not want to be in, that does feel like a slow death. So I just want you to think about that. We got dark real quick, but you get it. That's what outgrowing our life can feel like. old routines, old identities, old friendships, old low vibe behaviors. They start to like chafe. They start to get tight. They start to get irritated. They start to be itchy and cracked. And it's not because, again, you're broken or there's anything bad. It's because you're expanding. This is what you've been asking for. But it takes wisdom to release what you've outgrown. And even as the universe, if the universe could just hand you this quantum leap or this upgraded identity out of nowhere, you would still need to walk away from what you were doing. We need to release. You guys know I talk a lot about this, the power of releasing, the law of subtraction. Letting go equals you allowing more in, but we have to let go. So in real life, as I mentioned, you might have a job that used to make you feel good. That may even been on your vision board or felt like a dream or felt, good. And now it feels draining. Maybe it feels like a cage. Maybe it feels like you're trapped. Maybe you had friends that you used to laugh with and connect with over certain things. And now it feels draining. Now it feels like it drains your life force. Maybe there are clothes in your closet that used to feel like you and now feel like costumes. Feel like you're trying on somebody else's clothes, or feel like you 5 or 10 years ago when you were trying to be someone else and it makes you cringe. Maybe it's hobbies, food, shows, even music that just no longer vibes with who you are now. I know with music, there's definitely a streak with me. I love me some rap. Love hip hop, love rap. And there are some songs that I used to listen to that just because of the words, if it's like too derogatory or too something, I'm like, I can't do this. It's so negative. Whereas my 20 whatever year old self is like, you're such a downer. But I've changed. I love me some hip hop, but some of the messaging, I'm like, I'm just careful what I allow into my ears. Anyway, so we might find that in our hobbies, in our shows, in food. It changes because I wasn't going to get to this in my notes. It wasn't coming for another few minutes. But part of why this happens is because as we raise our vibration, as we heal, as we release, as we focus on gratitude and optimism and our highest self, even if it's just sometimes, as we do that, our resting vibration starts to raise. And as your resting vibration starts to raise, the things that are vibrating lower than where you are now start to feel exactly like that. It starts to feel heavy. It starts to feel constricting. And something I didn't plan on saying, but I think it's really interesting that has come to me intuitively before is me and my team were talking about like addiction and drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. And how when you start raising your vibration, you naturally source those good feelings. So basically how it came is, say you're walking around in life and you don't feel good. You're really not going through a good time, and your resting vibration is like a 3, like 3 out of 10. Quite low. You're just operating in maybe depression, low, heavy, slow energy. And so then when you drink or you smoke weed or you do a drug, it feels like it brings you up to like a 5 or a 6 because maybe you're social, maybe you're, just able to feel okay. So then we get into addictive cycles. But when you go about your life, when you heal, when you meditate, when you learn how to take care of yourself and you're eating well and you're moving your body, you start raising your own vibration. So now you're resting, your sort of everyday vibe is a 6, is a 7, is an 8. And so now when you drink alcohol, especially alcohol, or, do drugs, it now brings you down to like a 5, to a 4. And that's the flip. Alcohol to me, I used to think it made me feel better, but now even one drink, I can feel it brings me from like an 8 down to like a 4. Like it just, not every time, but I don't drink a lot because I've noticed that flip. So if that makes sense to some of you that think about it like that, that is part of the reason why we need to outgrow our life. We need to acknowledge when something isn't working anymore and be brave enough to move on. And sometimes it can feel scary. It can feel like you're going through an identity crisis because you don't even fully recognize yourself anymore. And instead of running from that, we want to honor it. And if I was working with you one-on-one, I'd say, good job. Like, acknowledge you for these changes. And it can be hard, but it's not a breakdown or a dismantling in a bad way. It's a becoming. It's part of the becoming process. Your vibration, I want to go back into this for a second. You're outgrowing your previous self's vibration. So when we are operating at a resting vibration, say of like a 4 or a 5, we're attracting and drawn to foods that are a 4 or a 5. And I want you to think about, I can't go, nutrition and health is very important to me, but the energetics is so fascinating. But I'm not going to go big onto a nutrition talk. But food that is from the earth vibrates higher because it has alive frequencies in it, like alive vitamins and minerals, and the different colors associate with different antioxidants, all that. Food that is processed, food that is in packages and stuff has a low vibration because it's been quote unquote dead for so long, and there's preservatives and chemicals and all that. So when we are not feeling good in life, we are more drawn toward processed food and low vibration food because it matches us. If we're walking around feeling like a 4, we are naturally attracting food and media and people and dynamics that are a 4. As we outgrow and as we raise our natural resting vibration, you may notice that you're naturally drawn to different food. So now when the friends want to go out, every week and have deep fried food and alcohol, you're starting to feel like, I want to go out, I want to have fun, but I just can't do that like once a week anymore or whatever, right? Different circumstances for different people, but you will outgrow your old vibration and the things that matched your old vibration. So you may have been choosing things based on being a 4 or whatever it is, but now you're feeling better, and that's why your hobbies, your interests are going to change. And maybe, people pleasing and choosing things because you should instead of what really, vibes you up. Or being attracted to relationships that are based in codependency or whatever, those things you'll start to outgrow them. And as you heal, your vibration naturally raises. And what once felt safe now feels misaligned. And we could even have known, like, this isn't good for you, whatever, because we don't love ourselves as much. We don't honor ourselves as much. And as we do, when that voice goes like, do you really want to be doing this? Now we go like, you know what? I honor myself. You're right. So there's all these different ways where we start to outgrow, because it's not about being better or even trying to change. It's about being more true to your higher self, true to your highest health, true to who you are. Shifting from what do I need to do to fit in here, or what do I need to do to be in that box, to what do I need to honor who I really am right now, my core values, my priorities in life. So from a spiritual lens, your soul came here for evolution, right? We talk about that a lot. And your soul came here to evolve. Your soul evolves as your human evolves. So each time you shed an old identity, you're breaking through another layer of that shell, of that, like the different layers of your own consciousness, of your own evolution. So every time you shed an identity, it's like you're stepping up the staircase, you're shedding a layer, you're moving yourself forward. And each time you break through to another level, you carry wisdom with you. And so we need to be brave enough to step into the wisdom, not just scared of, releasing what was there. Does that make sense? That may not have totally made sense. So from a soul perspective, outgrowing these things is your higher self initiating you into your next level. Your higher self is guiding you and you're listening. You're moving into a higher direction, and it's not higher as in judgment. You're not better than the people that you've outgrown. Or you're not better than the people that are still doing the things you were doing that you've now outgrown, right? It's just about you in this case. It's about you becoming truer to who you are, not about judging others or, shaming them. And we evolve in this spiral. And as our highest self initiates us into that next level, we step into that. We step through the discomfort, through the molting skin. And the snake doesn't just molt once. It probably molts, I don't even know how many times, but I know it's many times, because there will be another layer of molting. So we have to get good at releasing. We have to get good at letting go, noticing when you've outgrown, and bravely stepping forward into that next level. So sometimes, not even sometimes, always, because our evolution is a spiral, we come back to similar lessons, but we step through it into new frequencies. We have new tools, we have new awarenesses, we have more inner strength, more inner resilience, a broader, greater sense of self. We're more rooted, we're more confident, we're more healed. And we initiate into our next evolution, right? And then we'll outgrow some other things and we'll keep moving forward. And so you have full permission today to start looking around in your life, and without judgment, starting to hear that inner nudge even deeper of those things that you've outgrown. Those habits, those rituals, those dynamics, the things in your calendar that are just not you anymore. And you have permission to release them, to do what you need to do to allow yourself to move forward. Because that's one of the sacred spirals, is being wise enough to go, I'm outgrowing this and I'm going to move forward. So I want to ask yourself, as we're wrapping up this episode, where do you feel like you've been outgrowing your life? And I want to offer a few things. We need to, first of all, normalize the discomfort, because outgrowing can feel emotional, awkward, painful. It can come with hard conversations, inner, admitting things to yourself. It can be hard, and that's okay. So we want to let ourselves feel it without trying to rush the clarity. We just want to normalize and witness where is starting to feel tight, awkward, like we don't want to do it anymore. And in that, we are not shaming the past us. Whether we were eating low vibration foods, or we haven't been exercising, or we've been withdrawing, or whatever it is, or the people, whatever, there's no shame. We cannot shame ourselves, because that version of you was, I know the cliche is doing the best they could, but they were doing the best they could at that point in life. And if I walked every day in your shoes, I would have done the same things. If I had walked every day in your life, I would have made those same choices. So we don't shame our past us. That's the tools they had. That's the awareness level they had. They were in their stuff, and we know what that's like. So we don't shame that past us. And your quote unquote old self built the life to get you here. So even if it's felt messy, even if it's felt chaotic, they did a good job, because here you are now. So let's honor that past you the way that we honor the things that we're outgrowing. It's not this cut it out, moving on, I'm better ego thing. It's the spiral. It's the graceful spiral of healing and evolution. But let's honor our past selves, because they are the ones that got us here. And then getting curious about what's next. So say there is a dynamic of, maybe it's a certain social thing that's every week that you don't really want to do anymore. You don't want to be out late or drinking or whatever it is. So what's next? What could fill that space? What are you craving? If there is a job that is just you almost can't even do it another day, you've outgrown it, before you just give your notice and that's it, let's think about, what do you want? Is it more freedom? Do you want to work remotely? Do you want to work for a company that you're behind their values? Do you want to start your own business? Do you want to do something totally different? So start getting curious about what is next. If we're outgrowing this, what is then birthing at the same time? If we're outgrowing processed snacks, then maybe we're welcoming in more fresh food. If we're outgrowing, sitting and watching TV for hours a night, then maybe we're embracing going for a short walk or taking a bath, more mindfulness time. What is it that is next? And just inquiring, starting to lean inward, listen inward. What version of me is emerging here? And then from this place, as we outgrow things, we allow alignment to lead, truth with a capital T to lead. Choosing alignment, not obligation. Noticing what drains you versus what uplifts you. Knowing thyself. And I've been saying this a lot lately. I think it's in the Bible. I'm not sure, but my team for the last 6 months even has been bringing this in almost every day with myself, with clients. Know thyself. It's the key. Not what should I be and who do I need to be here and who do I need? It's knowing thyself. We can move mountains. We can have personal transformation. We can overhaul our health, our money story, our relationships through self-love, through knowing ourselves, honoring our truth, our intuition, true alignment. We don't need force and asking everyone, what should I do? And staying in old habits and staying in old vibrations and staying in stuff that weighs us down. We can move forward in our own truth, and that's what will allow you to ascend into the next level. To move forward, to rapidly move forward. Allow alignment to lead. Your truth with a capital T. So I want to remind you as well, we are wrapping up, but I want to remind you that your vibration, we talk about vibration a lot in this, right? Because that's a lot of what's going on. Your vibration naturally raises when you heal, but it also raises as we nourish ourselves, as we take space for rest. When we have boundaries and we are living more, doing the things that we enjoy, having more structure in some ways around our life, meaning we are taking time for ourselves. We're saying no sometimes when it was something that drained us, those types of boundaries. When we devote to our truth, when we are inspired, when we are creative, these things naturally raise our vibration. And the reason I say our vibration raises through healing is simply because the healing work has us release and move through a lot of the crunchiness, a lot of the I'm not good enough and what do people think and I don't deserve to do this or that, right? So it's not that one type of healing is the magic thing to raise a vibration. It's like we release our resistance. We release our crunchiness as we heal. So we naturally go from a 3 to a 5 to a 7 because we're releasing the heavy stuff. But again, we can raise our vibration through rest, through relaxation, through nourishment, vitamins, minerals, water, being in our truth, having boundaries, honoring ourselves. And this becomes the new energetic frequency. And what no longer matches will fall away. Whether it's gossip, overworking, certain foods, certain dynamics, certain people, certain things you've been saying yes to, they will start to fall away. Let them go with love. Bless and release. You're not losing anything. You need to look after you. You're making space for what matches your current frequency, which is blessings and miracles and opportunities and abundance and creative ideas and health and wellness and vitality. That's what you're making space for. And that is sacred. Okay, my love, you are doing such a good job. You are not meant to stay the same. Your soul is ever unfolding and infinite and evolving, and so is your path. And as you do this, your truest self, your full self, your authentic self is being revealed. I'm so proud of you for letting go, for welcoming in, for evolving. You're my homie. I give you so much love. You're allowed to rise, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I genuinely hope that it served you. If you feel like you're in the give and back mood, I would be so honored if you left a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to the podcast. It really does help so much. And if you're looking for books to integrate into your life, to create daily practices, to keep you on your path of self-growth and awakening, you should check out my Amazon store. I've got a few daily practice style books that you can choose choose from, including Manifest This Shit, which is a coloring and activity book for manifestation. We've got the brand new one called Both Sides, which is a daily practice. And we've also got the bedtime ritual. So you can check out the link for that as well as other things in the show notes below. And I will see you in the next episode.